everyone, so in this video we will be talking about global cultures throughout the world, and let's get started on talking about what culture is. So culture is a bunch of different things, right? So the things that make up a culture could be the languages that are spoken, or the medical cures that are available. Of course, the religion plays a huge role in what a culture is. How children are raised, the foods that we eat, the art that is produced, the holidays that are celebrated. Jokes are very cultural as well. The manners and the values that you are taught are very tied to people's cultures. The clothing that they wear and the kinds of jobs that they do, or the schedules that they keep. Those are all the things that make up cultures, and many, many others. One of the things that is most important to a culture is language. That is a key element in the development of a culture, because through a common language, people can communicate information and also share experiences. Through a common language, it becomes easier to pass on those cultural values and traditions that live on generation after generation. Geographers look at language in language families, and those are groups of related languages that have all developed from one earlier language. All right. Religion, also very important to a culture. Religious beliefs, of course, vary greatly throughout the world, and there are many, many different religions and many different ways that each of those religions are practiced. But religion enables people to find a sense of identity and to find a place that they feel like they belong. Religion often influences many aspects of everyday life, so religion is a very powerful tool in people's lives. Major world religions include Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and Sikhism, and we will study those in more details later on. Of course, you may know that struggles over religious differences can cause conflicts in some regions of the world, and if you turn on the TV, you'll see that daily, that because of religious differences, there are a lot of wars and a lot of acts of terrorism being committed because of disagreements in people's faith. What you're looking at here is a map of the world, and it is color-coded by religions. So what this means is that in these countries, the color that the country is shaded is the religion that is dominant in that area. So as you know, in the United States, Mexico, and South America, Christianity is very, very important, and that is because the Europeans colonized both of these areas. So in the southern parts, Catholicism, which is a branch of Christianity, is practiced, and in North America, there is a lot of Protestantism that is practiced, right? Islam is very important in the northern parts of Africa, also on the eastern seaboard, and of course in the Middle East. All right, and that is a religion that originated in the Arabian Peninsula, so it spread to these places, and we'll speak of how they spread. All right, Hinduism originated in India. It's also practiced in parts of Asia and in the northern part of the Asian continent. Sorry. Buddhism, which originated in India, is very, very important in Mongolia and also in China. Judaism is hard to see, but it's right here. It is the smallest of the major world religions, mostly only practiced in this area. And there are Jews throughout the entire world, but it is most dominant here. And then there are Chinese religions, Korean religions, Shintoism, and also folk religions that are practiced in native areas. Ethnic groups. So ethnic groups are people who share common ancestry, a language, a religion, customs, or place of origin. So when you talk about Hispanics, those are it is an ethnic group because Hispanics share a common language, which is Spanish, and they have usually a common religion. Hispanics, for the most part, are Christian, and they also might have a common place of origin. So Hispanics can trace their roots back to Spain, which is why they're called Hispanics, right? Okay, so here is a map of ethnic groups in the world by the end of the 20th century, and you have a bunch of different ethnic groups in North America. The majority of the ethnic groups are Caucasian, right? They come from Europe. As you can see in the Central and South America, there's a little bit of a mixture between Amerindian and Mestizo, which are both mix of Indian and European. You might also have multiracial communities. So there's a blend of other things. And in the South, you have, again, the Anglos, because they're the ones who populated that area, right? Culture regions. So that is the division of the earth in which people share a similar way of life, including language, religion, economic systems, and values. One example of this is if we go back to this map. When we study North America, geographically, North America consists of Canada, the United States, and Mexico. But in this class, when we study North America, we only study Canada and the United States. And that is because we are going to group Mexico, which is Central America, with South America. And we do that because culturally, these countries have more in common than Mexico does with the United States and Canada. So it makes more sense to study it as a culture region instead of a geographic region. Okay, so again, geographically, the United States, Canada, and Mexico belong to the same continent. But culturally, Mexico has a lot more in common with South America, so geographers study it together with South America and the Caribbean as a culture region. That's what culture region means. Okay. Cultural diffusion is the process by which culture traits and materials and ideas are spread from one culture to another. And usually this is done through trade. In the ancient times, when the Chinese and the Romans were exchanging goods through the Silk Roads, well, obviously the traders take their ideas with them and they share them along the road, and they also pick up new ideas within the places that they visit. And this is called cultural diffusion because people are going to start blending their cultures and picking up characteristics from others that they like, and so you start seeing a blending of different kinds of traditions and languages and practices. Here is a map of culture regions of the world. Again, like I had said, you have Latin America and Mexico grouped together with the Caribbean because culturally that makes the most sense. And then you can see the other colors throughout the world. Okay. A culture hearth is a center where culture developed and from which ideas and traditions spread outward. When we start looking at the culture hearths in world history, that is the very first thing that we do. We look at Egypt, the Fertile Crescent, Mexico, and China, because those are the places where cultures originated and major ideas took place and spread to different parts of the world. This happened because of the agricultural revolution. Because agriculture was discovered in Neolithic times, people were able to grow a lot of food, and they ended up with extra food, a surplus. So this food surplus was used for trade with other communities, and the increase in trade resulted in cultural diffusion, which is that sharing of ideas. So culture spread thanks to the agricultural revolution and trade. So what you see here is the location of the world's ancient culture hearths. And so Mexico is one because the Maya and the Aztec are from this area. You have the Inca in South America, the Egyptians in North Africa. You have the Fertile Crescent, which is where the Sumerians, the Mesopotamians originated. In India, you have another culture hearth, and also in China. So a lot of places in the world where original ideas came from and spread and influenced other parts of the world, right? Finally, let's talk about globalization. And this is the process by which countries of the world have experienced greater connectivity. So people today in different countries are more connected than ever through business, technology, or their culture. And this has been done thanks to the technology that is available to us today. The degree of connection between people, places, and things varies. It depends on how technologically advanced one particular country is, but the more technologically advanced a country is, the more it is connected to others. And this is called globalization. And globalization has its benefits as well as its downside. For the most part, globalization has increased the standard of living in many countries because we are able to reach them with better goods or medical services, or provide jobs for people of other countries. So globalization does increase the standard of living for some people. Thanks to globalization, there's also a selection of goods and services. So if, for instance, it's winter and we can't grow oranges where we live, well, we can have some shipped in from South America, and now we can have an orange on times where they're off season. So it increases the selection of goods and services that that are available to us. Okay. Also, because of globalization, you have a growth of creativity and also innovation, because people are allowed to share ideas and bounce thoughts off of each other and get inspiration. They're able to create new things and very technologically advanced things to make our lives easier. So that is where the new technology comes in as well. Because of globalization, there is more cooperation and awareness between countries. For instance, you consider the struggles that Syrian refugees are going through today. If not because we have news cameras that broadcast these images throughout the entire world, thanks to globalization, we would not be able to be aware of the things that are happening in the world and offer our help and see what we could do for Syrian refugees. So thanks to globalization, we have access to this information, and they have access to help from other nations. And finally, you have greater access to foreign cultures. So if you're interested in learning about different countries and their customs and their languages, well, thanks to globalization, that can easily happen as well. And of course, like I said, globalization does pose some challenges. For instance, the outsourcing, or and that means setting up businesses in other countries. Well, that eliminates jobs for Americans, for instance, right? If they take those factories to Mexico, or they take those factories to Vietnam to produce products, well, that puts American workers out of jobs. And so this is one of the challenges of globalization. Also, you see an increasing gap between the rich and the poor countries. Rich countries tend to take advantage of the lenient work laws in poor countries, and so you start seeing an increasing gap between the rich and the poor. The rich get richer, the poor seem to be getting poorer. Also, there is a loss of culture because we are so interconnected, and we start blending our cultural ideas with others. It does diminish the distinction of people's cultures. And because of globalization, we also have pandemics and the spread of diseases that they'll spread more easily. Think about the Ebola outbreak that we had last year, and how just because one person on a plane had been in an area that was infested with Ebola, and they were in contact with so many people on that plane, and then those people went home and contacted their family, and their family went out into their jobs and schools, and that can cause a spread of a disease or a huge pandemic. And finally, globalization is also responsible for the degradation of the environment. The increase in factories, the increase in travel, of course those things cause pollution, hurt the environment, and also the cutting down of natural resources like trees, for building homes, or just for clearing out space for more factories. This hurts our environment. So we have to consider the good and the bad, and see how we can find a good balance, so that it's not always all bad. But anyway, that concludes our lecture. If you have any questions, make sure that you write them down and come see me. And just thanks for watching. All right.